What is happening, guys? Welcome back to Redbeard's Garage, and today we're going to be finishing out the swing arm and getting it ready to put on the gym car. So we're putting a Duramax 713cc B twin. We're using Go Power Sports 780 CVT setup, and we're also using a reverse gearbox that we found from a subscriber told us about it. We bought a couple to try out to see if they're worth the money. So we built this super heavy duty swing arm in the last video. You just saw us dress out the axle on it. So now we basically have to go get some 50 chain. That's what size chain this gearbox runs. You can use 50 or 530. We got to put the chain on it, do a chain tensioner. We also have to mount up a rear brake caliper. On the rears, I always use these small calipers. These are from Go Power Sports. This is what a 150 go-kart would use, and it has a manual e-brake, like a mechanical e-brake on it. And we also have to make a stainless exhaust. What we're doing is the ports on this engine is 1 1/4. That's what the only exhaust you can fit around the bolts. So what we're going to do is run a 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 inch flange, and then do a 1 1/2 inch exhaust down to this stainless steel quiet muffler. So first, before we get started on anything, we need to go out to the gym car. We need to test fit some aftermarket wheels. We have some 14-inch wheels with 22-inch tires to see if they can fit on the front, because if they fit on the front, then we can use them on the swing arm. But if not, then we're going to have to pull the original tires off and the little donut boys and run on this. So we're going to go test fit that first, jack it up, pull the wheels off, install one, make sure it clears, and if it does, we can install them on the back of this and get this all dressed out, and then we can weld in our pivot points. So a lot of rambling, let's get going. So it looks like these are going to fit if we do a little bit of plastic trimming. We can leave this outer edge and cut an inside edge. I think those will look super sick on there. Those will look beefy. Okay, so now that we know these wheels will work, we can take them inside so we can later mount them on our swing arm. All right, so this is the whole chain tensioner I've done. I've drilled a 1/2 inch hole in the frame. I've ran a spacer and did 3/16 flat bar. Then I found a idler pulley at the local co-op that I can put on here. And then basically this idler pulley will pull back against the chain. And I'm gonna weld this small little turnbuckle set up right here. So when you wanna adjust the chain, you would break the jam nuts loose. And I use square tubing on this, so you could put a wrench on it, you know, adjustable wrench, and tighten it, and it'll drag the sprocket down to tighten the chain. There won't be a ton of adjustment, so once it gets so wore out, you'll have to replace it, because I can only adjust so much with how this is set up. And this is on a downward motion, so I need to go down as far as possible. And I'm gonna tack weld these on, and then we can tension up the chain. This doesn't need to move a lot, because this 50 chain normally doesn't stretch much. And this chain does need greased, it's old. Alright, so to hang the muffler, I'm going to use some 3/8 stainless flat bar. This is the only thing I could find at the local machine shop. So what I'm going to do is I have a bolt the table bolt is 1.5 inch in diameter for these tables. And I have a stop put in right beside of it, and I'm gonna bend a 180 candy cane in this flat bar so I can wrap it around the end of my muffler to mount it. So basically this candy cane will sleeve over this, and I can weld it all the way around on both the inlet and the outlet to give me a muffler hanger that is super strong, because it will be on the swing arm. So we'll lay this flat, and then bend it around. Oh yeah, baby. Now I can hammer it to tighten up that space. So now I can cut the overhang off that. It should work out real nice. All right, so we're ready to do the exhaust on this V-twin. We have everything else done on the swing arm, other than the pivot points and the shocks. Of course, we got to wait to get the cart inside. I don't want to mess up on those measurements, so I don't want to make sure it's in the garage before we do that. But we got a ton of exhaust pieces laying around. We're going to have to do a nice twin into one header. Basically, the ports on this head is 1.25 inches, and then the muffler is 1.5 inches inlet. We're not seeking horsepower with this. We just want it to make stock numbers. So we're running that stainless steel quiet flow muffler. I'm actually like those mufflers quite a bit. I'm hoping they do pretty well, because we do a lot of projects where you want them quiet, and this would be a cool muffler to use. A V-band clamp on the muffler, so you can pull the muffler off and then pull the header, so it's two-piece. So we were going to work on this V-band. Only downside is I don't have any stainless V-bands, and I don't want to wait anymore. But this whole kit is going to be Cerakoted, so you're not going to tell anyway. So it's not going to matter that these aren't stainless. Okay, so one thing we have to do is, these are some adapters I got, stainless adapters that are 1 inch to 1.5 inch. Well, I need to cut this 1 inch down, and it's really hard to get this a straight cut. So what I'm going to do is I have this piece of 1.5, and I'm going to TIG weld the collector to it, and then throw this piece in the lathe so I can turn this down until 1.25 meets up with it real nice. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just tack this a couple times around this 1.25, or sorry, 1.5, and then we'll throw it in the lathe. We'll get both those done, and then we can start building it all out. So enjoy. So the reason I'm tacking with the MIG welder is because I can grind the tacks down and then TIG weld over it. When this is ready to weld, I'll TIG tack it a bunch, and then, you know, like 3 or 4 times per every joint. Then I can take a Dremel, grind off all these MIG tacks. I eventually want to get me a MIG welder, a secondary MIG welder just for stainless. So when I tack like this, I can do it with stainless and some thin wire, so I don't have to grind so much. But this is just a quick and dirty way because I don't have anybody out here helping me. There is a company that makes these bands that you can TIG weld through them. They have gaps, and you can basically bolt your whole exhaust together to make sure everything fits and then TIG weld it off. We'll definitely be messing with that later. I think I'm gonna have to cut these tacks off here to bring this out a little further, because this is kind of landing on the side of this pipe here, or I may be able to just take a 45 and do a weird notch in it and lay it in there, and once I get the notch cut out, we can tack it all together. And I'm probably going to put a V-band clamp so this header can be removed from this header. The only reason for that is when I weld this out, I didn't leave any gaps whatsoever, so there shouldn't be much tweaking. You know, if you leave gaps, that's when you have tweaking most of the time with the exhaust. I didn't leave any gap whatsoever. These are super tight fits. So, but I'm just going to put a V-band there just in case, you know, there's any tweaking. We'll be able to kind of tweak it around and line it up. All right guys, so that's it with this video. We got the exhaust all done, and we got the engine tensioned up, and the chain tensioner and the brakes done. So the only thing left to do is mount these shocks and the pivot points, and that will be in the next video when we pull the golf cart in. Finally starting to attach all this stuff. We got to get a custom cable made for the shifter, actually 2 cables made, and we got to do stuff like put a throttle pedal, because this is electric golf cart, so it has something like a welding TIG welding pedal in the golf cart, potentiometer in there, and that's how you drive it. So we got to remove that and put in all the standard stuff. But massive shout out to Go Power Sports for sponsoring these videos and sending out the CVT pulleys, the axle hangers, and all this stuff. All these links can be found in the video description. We try to list everything, and if we forgot something, please let us know and we'll add it, because it is a lot of parts to go through, because we're going to try to add the stuff that we will use in the future as well. The only thing left to weld out on this exhaust is the hanger. I'm actually going to put a secondary hanger on the backside, a little U-shaped one, and I'm going to put a little probably 1 3/4 or 2 inch turn down, like a 45 degree turn down off this, and slant cut it to make this look nice. But I think it's going to look awesome, all Cerakoted gold, and that'll hold a ton of heat in and not let heat seep into the CVT pulley or anything, but we have plenty of room. But let us know what you think about this build, what you think about this exhaust. It's pretty fun when you got the right bends to make these exhausts, but it does get really expensive. This exhaust probably, I don't know, is $200 to $300, and I could have used mild steel and just bent 1.5 inch tube in my bender, but I wanted this to be extremely nice for the guy, because he did take a lot of his time and help us, and I really do appreciate that. So that's why I went a little overkill with all stainless, and you know, like we could have just bent some tube on the notcher or on the bender and did this, but again, we wanted to make it super nice for him. So let us know what you think about this build so far. We're going to pull it in just a few weeks. In a week or so, I got to work on the Yamaha buggy. We got to do exhaust on it, got to do shifter, gas pedal, like throttle linkages and stuff. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up. And road to horsepower is coming back. We got several things to test out, including Go Power Sports new MoFlow billet head. I'm super pumped about that because it's going on my mini bike. So stay tuned, a lot of stuff coming. Thank you guys for your support. Make sure to check out those links and support your boy, because these companies are helping us get these videos out. We love you guys, and God bless.